Hi there. Okay, now we're ready for splits. Are you ready? All right, so splits are one of these aspirational poses that people say, oh, I've never been able to do a split, or I haven't been able to do it since I was a cheerleader, or whatever. I think that people exaggerate the difficulty. Yes, having flexible hamstrings helps, but it's like, do you say you can't do a downward facing dog? You probably can. Does it have to be perfect? No. So you don't have to come down to a perfect 180-degree split to do a split. And you can get a lot of the benefits. The benefits are the hip opening and the stretching. So whether or not you're able to raise your arms and make it look beautiful and all that, it's really less important. It's not the point. So I'm going to show you just kind of a quick and dirty split, if we want to call it that. And I'm using 3 basic props here. A bolster. If you don't have a bolster, maybe you can use a pillow or something else. And by the way, see, this is a thinner bolster. It's a home practice bolster, as opposed to those really thick ones studios have. They're pretty expensive. I mean, you can buy them. This actually was not inexpensive either. I got a deal on it though. But I actually, for a home practice, I like these thinner ones. Anyhow, that's off the point. You want to have your blocks. I guess you could substitute something else, but I do think a block is a good tool to have for splits. And then I'm using my sweatshirt. You can use any old kind of towel or fabric for this part of things as we go forward. And you might want to have more props. You might want to have thicker blankets, pillows, whatever, so you can be whatever you're going to need to have that lift in the groin, so you can relax and stretch when you're up there, because you'll see, you don't want to hold yourself up. So as I was just saying in the camel video, that a split is really combines forward fold, camel, and lunge. And what I haven't shown yet are lunges. But you have them all the time in sun salutations. You're doing runner's lunges probably. So a basic runner's lunge, and you all know this, is just this. You've got the hands by the feet, and you're on the ball of the foot, and you're stretching through it. And when you come to this, and maybe you hop in the back foot, and it's turned a little bit more of an acute angle than it is in Warrior One. You're in pyramid pose, and the hands can be, in different ways in pyramid. You're really halfway on the way to a split. And then when you're in your lunge, and I think I just showed this, this is really a half split. You're getting the split, but see, it's also a forward fold. And this is why you have to learn how to have that belly onto thigh, and you're not rounding the back as much as possible. So it's forward fold, and since I did that side, I should really do this other one. So I'm starting with my runner's lunge, and I like to bring a little movement to my runner's lunge. I'm stretching through the hip and the groin. I'm going to hop that back foot in a little bit, come into a version of pyramid. You can always, by the way, have the hands on blocks if you need to do that. If your hands come all the way down, you don't have to use the blocks. Coming into this, you're in a lunge. You're getting pretty close to a half split. So you don't want to do a split not warmed up. You might hurt yourself. So you want to be sure that you've already done your sun salutations, and a lot of hip opening. Pigeon pose, sleeping pigeon, is a good pose to do on the way to a split. Forward folds, obviously, back bends. So if you have an hour class, you're probably going to get to like the 45 or 50-minute mark, probably 45, and you'll start working on it then. Okay, so I was showing you runner's lunge. Lizard, the foot is outside the hand, and it's by the shoulder, and it's deeper. So we're going to come down onto the knee, down onto the shin, coming down onto the forearms, Breathing in, stretching the hip. If you're more flexible, you might want to do a little bit of a twisting here to help open up the hip. And then as I was showing you with camel, you really want to open up these hip flexors. I think that the hip flexor part of it is harder in splits than the hamstring part. So I'm up pretty high, opening this up, and so it's kind of a back bend here. This is where it gets kind of camel-y, or one of the ways it gets kind of camel-y. Stretching through it, opening up those hips. And now I'm coming back onto the heel, belly onto thigh, and this is your half split. Moving through it. Stretching through it, so I'm not rushing anything. You might have done standing splits against the wall first. You might have done three-legged dog splits, that's always good. So actually you could begin to walk through a split, move through a split here, but we're not gonna rush it. Bringing that foot back. All right, let's come back up. Do lizard on this side. Stretching through it. Opening it up. Demystifying our splits. Coming down onto the knee, the shin, the forearms. Okay, that doesn't work for you. Come down onto the blocks. Stretching through it, letting those suckers open up. Breathing into it, keeping that knee by the shoulder. You don't need the blocks. Coming down onto the forearms. And you would want to spend some time here. I'm doing this a little fast. And you could again stretch through the hips, doing kind of a lizard twist. Opening up through those hips. And then eventually you're going to come up. And I do like to use the blocks for this. Of coming up, opening the front part of the hips. Opening the hip flexors. Breathing into it, getting that stretch. You want to be able to feel that. Opening the heart, but particularly opening up through the hip and opening up that hip flexor on the right, as in this case. And stretching through it. And then you can come into your half split. Stretching into it. See, there's a lot of forward fold here. If you do a standing split with your head down by your knee, you can see you're halfway in a forward fold there. Okay, so I know you can see already that it combines forward fold, lunge, and camel. All right, so now we're ready to try a proper split. And so I'm bringing my sweatshirt, it can be a towel or something. As it turns out, this is terry, so it's the same thing. Up toward the front, that's gonna be for my foot that comes forward. And I'm gonna have this right under the groin, or right under, just in front of the groin, under the thigh of the leg that comes forward. And my blocks on either side, if I want to have them. If you have more blocks, it could be helpful because you need more height. You can have more of them under the groin. But okay, so we're coming into a lunge. I'm bringing the heel onto so I'm going to be sliding using my blanket or my towel, my sweatshirt to come forward. I've got my blocks. I'm coming forward, pressing back with the back leg. Got the front leg, so it's like a half Dandasana kind of. I've got that squared off shape. The foot is flexed, the hips are square, the heart is lifted. I'm holding on to the blocks. And this leg is back, so this is kind of, you can see that it's kind of lungy, it's kind of camel-y, it's kind of forward foldy. And now I don't need to use those blocks. So, but I am leaning on this bolster. That's one of the secrets to it, is to not be gripping. You're stretching, so you can't grip and stretch at the same time. You want to be able to let this thigh relax on something. if you need that height. And eventually you're going to be here in the stretches and you don't need all of that height anymore. So then you might be able to shift just putting a block under there. And then that's good. But you want to not have to hold yourself up, to really let your muscles and the joint relax and shift down, because then you can begin to raise your hands and you're getting more of the camel thing. And then if you're here for a while, then eventually you may be able to remove whatever underneath, or as you get more stretchy, you can come into a full split. So you're lifting up, so you've got this back bend element here. Your hands, one arm, for both arms might be lifted, keeping those hips square and coming into your split. And you would do the same thing on the other side. I'm just not going to show you. And then after you do your split, you're going to want to relax the hips. You'll do a couple stretchy things to release it, maybe relax the back body, maybe doing a child's pose. And you're probably going to come into Shavasana pretty soon afterwards. It's really awesome to be able to do a split, even if you're up on the bolster, even if you're like this high off the ground. It's all good. You've done it. You've opened your hips. And you've accomplished something that maybe you thought you couldn't do. And then you can go on to do more fancy things like flying splits or something like that, which I'm still working on. I'm not very good at it. So, all right, check you out later.